I did a press release. I did one press release, and that one press release made me $30,000.
Beautiful. And welcome back to the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring Podcast. Today, we've got Z Scott. She is the publisher, editor-in-chief of the Algorithm Magazine, as well as, I love this website, the SEOqueen.com. It's amazing to have you on, Z.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Steve. So glad to be here.
Well, the thing is, we're going to talk today about the thing that most people, when we said that, it's kind of almost cringeworthy for a lot of businesses. We get all these calls all day long of like, hey, notice you did this wrong about your page, and you got to fix this stuff. And the just the barrage that business owners get on a daily basis from companies trying to tell you what's wrong about your SEO and then trying to sell you stuff. It's relentless. And being somebody who has bought a couple of those packages where they take your money and then you never see them again, or they take your money and they ruin your website, or they take the money and they'll take over your account and you don't see your account again. There's a lot of people are frustrated in this space, so they want the good facts. They want the real deal. So we're excited to have you on. You are the SEO queen, and we want to get some information here. So let's start to demystify this.
Right. So one of the things that I saw before I launched the SEO Queen is all the things that you mentioned, like the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency, the lack of effectiveness. And so with those three things, I created the SEO Queen. And the way we do SEO is transparently track both the results and the action items, the project plan. We get results. We've driven about $250 million worth of revenue for our clients since 2017.
Beautiful.
Conservatively, that's a conservative number. And we deliver not just SEO, but we look at the entire brand and help our clients grow their brand online in a holistic way.
That's amazing. Transparency is so critically important. I think, a lot of these, they try to do the SEO in a box where you have no idea what they're doing. And they can get into a lot of the nooks and crannies of your business, and you don't know how far they're going into it until you get locked out of your account. And I've seen too many people get stuck with that. So what I think we should do today is a really good idea is try to give some people some really good pointers that if they're trying to figure it out for themselves and just kind of, how do I do this? Because there's a lot of people out there, they want to know, they want to look behind the curtain in the machine and figure what's going on. And once they do, they'll feel a lot more comfortable hiring somebody to do the task. Right. And so let's talk a little bit about, what do entrepreneurs do wrong? Like, let's first start off with that. What is the first thing that most people get wrong?
One of the things that entrepreneurs get wrong is that they don't thoroughly dive into how people are talking about their products and services. They're not looking at what questions people are asking about the use of their products and services. And I had the opportunity to see William Sears do a demonstration of how Disney does their keyword research, because he was over their SEO for a while. And, I took from that basically just leave no stone unturned. And with that strategy of leaving no stone unturned, I've been able to get some massive wins for my client. One in particular, NS Design, they were able to be found by Beyonce's team, and they were able to have all their stringed instruments featured in Coachella when Beyonce did her performance. So we've had some pretty amazing wins. Intejaka Shange, may she rest in peace. Her estate didn't have her website visible online at all. And so I was able to just look at all the ways that people are talking about her body of work. I mean, it's crazy that before I optimized her website that she wasn't being found, and she had a whole movie that was a blockbuster that had believe Janet Jackson starred in it. A whole bunch of stars: Whoopi Goldberg, Macy Gray,
Wow.
And she literally, her SEO was a mess. Her estate's SEO was a mess, but I came back and was able to fix that. And her play for Color Girls got a just ran on Broadway a couple of years ago. So they've
So
been able to.
when you're looking at kids and you're looking in the room and you know it's a mess because the Lego's not in the bins, the bed's not made, and they left their cups out and they shouldn't have been eating upstairs, but guess what? There's wrappers. So it's very easy to understand what it means by a mess. So talk to me about what it means by a mess when you look at from the perspective in SEO.
Well, for me, messy SEO means like no meta description, no, you can have keywords. Some websites have keywords, they're optimized, but they're not optimized for the right keywords. So just aiming at the right um, phraseology is important, and updating it. Google just came out, I think, within the last few months with a podcast about a concept called content decay, and they're really automating uh, de-indexing content that they feel is ineffective or old. And so what that means for business owners is you can't just do keyword research once. No, you have to keep your finger on the pulse on the shifts in vernacular and how people are talking about your products and services, what is important, and you have to implement that into your content on a regular basis.
Content decay. So when somebody looks at their website, it actually is it's got a declining balance value because it's slowly just becoming stale. And what you're saying is they have to really keep apprised of what the changes are for what content's relevant to their audience, or they're going to start to lose value. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can actually make data driven decisions by utilizing Google Search Console. Google Analytics and Google Search Console will let you know how content is performing over time. You can customize the window that you want to look at, and you can literally see which keywords a specific page is coming up in search engine results, and you can see whether or not it's increasing or declining, or
So
if
let's
Google has completely de-indexed the page.
Oh, you can actually see that on that page where you've been de-indexed or not.
Yeah, in Search Console, absolutely.
Interesting. And so if we go back to the idea of first those keywords, and let's
Hmm.
just kind of hone in on those a little bit. You said that, not a lot of people know, what are the keywords specifically that your best customer used?
Right.
And what is the methodology that you use to help people discover those?
The methodology that I use with my keyword research is I use the industry best tools, but then I also am creative in how I look for the questions that people are asking. And so just understanding the business model and experience is the other piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, experience is really important. If we were going to help somebody try to be able to navigate that on their own, obviously
Hmm.
without the experience that you have, what would they do? What would be the first starting point that they should do?
I think the first thing that they should do is, if they're on their own, I would recommend that they either go to SEOqueen.com and use the keyword search tool that's there. We have over 50 tools that you can utilize to DIY your own SEO. Or just start searching your competitors and look and see what searches they come up for on Google page one. Those are two uh, starting points.
Okay, yeah, that's a great starting point.
Mhm.
And then how do you know that that's what your specific customers are looking for versus just the generic vernacular that's being used?
Well, if you know your market, if you've been in business for a while, you should know who your national and regional competitors are. And if their business is growing and thriving, then you know that what they're doing is working.
Mm, okay. And what other things from the keyword perspective have we not talked about that you think is super important that people need to know?
I think it's really important to look at keywords from a branding perspective, non branded or generic keywords, and then also questions. Like those three things will help you uh, to move your visibility forward. And if you have content that is optimized for those keywords, you will win. A lot of businesses are not spending time on the longer tail term. They're just not. They're going for the easier wins, the bigger search phrases, but you can literally build up your business going after the less popular phrases and just having more content out there. If your website is less than 100 pages and you're not happy with your revenue, you definitely need to tweak your keywords and your content.
Yeah, that's when you say 100 pages, most people would their jaw would drop and say, "Wow, that's a lot of pages on a website." Is
Well,
there?
if you look at the highest revenue, fastest growing companies, specifically franchises, they literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of pages and are ranking for millions of keywords. Because the average website is going to rank for anywhere from 1 to 10 to 20. If it's optimized really well for a keyword cluster, you can rank one page for like 20 keywords.
Hmm. Rank. Sorry, you said you used the word cluster, and so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, like a keyword cluster, like say an example, like little black dress, right? So what questions are people asking about little black dress? They're saying, is it appropriate to wear it to, this event or that event? Whatever the questions people are asking, like when you build out your content, you want to answer all those questions in that one page. And the longer form content will rank for more than a couple of keywords if you're strategic, because you want to use your keywords in the URL, the title. You want to break it down into the title tags, so you have the different subheadings are formatted with the title tag code. And then you want to make sure that you're using images and video on the page as well, and using your alt tags in order to reiterate those keywords that you're aiming for.
Okay. And then when you start talking a little bit about content, and we're sort of navigating keywords, and we start talking about content. What are some good content strategies that people should really focus on when they're looking at developing the content for these for their pages?
Yeah, one of the easiest types of content to create is just, those conversations that you have with your clients, the questions that you get over and over. Write a blog post. Create a blog post, create a video, create a social media post, and that is a great way to reiterate answers to the keywords that people have. When you are creating other content on your website, you want to link to those cornerstone content pages, and that will help you to rank higher. I mean, it's when it comes to SEO, as a business owner, if you're busy selling, electric boat string instruments, you're not really thinking about keywords. You're thinking about, how to make this instrument better, or whatever your product is better. And so when it comes to content and SEO, it's really important for business owners to switch gears and to think about that and develop a content plan that also looks at, things like Prime Day. Prime Day is coming up 16th and 17th of July. You have Black Friday. Like, now is definitely the time to be thinking about Black Friday and starting to develop those offers and those digital assets that you need to push out. Now is a great time with, the school coming back into summer, the beginning of school. Now is the time to think about that as well, and creating the content that is visible for those questions that people ask. And I mean, in addition, if you run like an HVAC company, like, now is the time to be thinking about what kind of digital assets are you going to put out there for people who are freezing and need their heater fixed. So
Well,
you
I
really have
think,
to be proactive, plan
yeah,
ahead.
you definitely have to be proactive, and I think you caught me at the HVAC one. You lost me at the kids, because I can tell you, if you tell my kids about going back to school right now, they'll hunt you down. They just got on vacation. They're
No,
not
I'm
going
not talking about the
to.
kids. I'm talking about the parents. I'm talking
I
about the
know, I know.
parents. I mean, it's like kids. I mean, honestly, every kid I know is outgrown their school uniform. So if you're
Yeah.
still in school uniforms, like, now's the time to start saying you need to
Mm.
get your school uniform.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
But the idea
Absolutely.
is, so one of the things that you're talking about too is stop focusing on the here and now in your business, and start focusing on the then and soon. And because the here and now, summer's going to be over, and if you're trying to develop your plan for right now, that's great. But when it comes to fall, you could do a better job in the fall if you would do all the work up front to set yourself up for success. Are you sort of talking a little bit about that as well?
Well,
Think
there's
a little bit more
actually,
than one step ahead?
well, you have to, when you're developing an effective content strategy, you have to think about the here and now and plan for the future. Now, the here and now is, it could be as relevant as uh like one thing that's really been talked about a lot is Kendrick Lamar's song "Not Like Us." And if that goes with your brand somehow, like if you
Mm.
are an instrument maker, you can do something around that. You can always, there's always something trending in the news that you can talk about. Like the ESPYs were just last night. So there's always things that are going on that you can create content around now to put out there. I mean, it just really depends on your brand, but it's really important to think about content long term and also right now in short term. So you have to plan and also, give yourself space to create content to respond to things that are happening right now.
Yeah, the whole idea of recency and relevance
Hmm.
for current events is something that gets talked about. How important is that when you start talking about really, really pushing the envelope for trying to get some attention?
I think it's really important. I think one thing that business owners don't understand the power of is like just the whole idea of press releases and newsjacking. It's so important to get your business out there on these websites because these are the websites that people are visiting every day. When you talk about the Fortune, the Forbes, the CNN, the news blogs, people are going to those websites daily. And if you can be present on those websites, if you can insert your brand into those conversations on those platforms, it'll give you a high value backlink and it'll also give you some market relevance and it's also social proof as well. So people tend to trust businesses that are a part of the fabric of their lives. And the fabric of people's lives is social media. It's news websites, it's YouTube, it's all the places that people go to look for information. And if you're present in more of those places, you'll be visible to more people, which means you'll convert more people. More
Yeah,
eyeballs and more eyeballs.
yeah, attention, success follows attention, that's for sure.
Hmm.
And when you look at the idea of the activity and you're talking about all these things, like this is not a one-time endeavor. This is something where you need to be committed to it. It looks like you really need to be heavily engaged into your marketing if this is the direction that you want to go for SEO presence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I mean, this is why you podcast is because this is a part of content creation. It's a media platform, and it's something that people can tap into consistently. And just having that voice is powerful. I don't think there's ever really been a time in history where the common man can literally get themselves out there for the whole world to interact with their thought leadership. And so this is something that you don't want to take for granted and you want to leverage to grow your brand.
Absolutely. I'd like to think myself a little bit different than the common man, but we're good on that one. And
Oh, when I say the common man, I mean, i.e., not the president of Canada or the United States
how do you
or
know? Maybe that
Beyonce.
might be the next one. You never know. We need a change. Uh, um, you're absolutely right. The idea of podcasting does a lot to really help. I mean, it's our number one, number two, number three source of generating revenue for all of our businesses, and
Right.
so it's been a huge ability to be able to connect with people, build audiences, build long-term content, and actually really hone your content. I think a lot
Right.
of times people get really nervous about having these kind of conversations that you and I are having right now, and how easy it is actually to do it. And then
Well, I
furthermore, the more you
let
do
me
it, the better you get.
I did a press release. I did one press release and that one press release made me $30,000.
Beautiful.
So I actually, it made me more than $30,000. Actually, when I think about it, so the don't want to discount the power of these platforms, and I think a lot of businesses, they get frustrated with how much money they're making, but their activity level is not matching what is required. And in this economy, this marketplace, you're not just competing in your specific industry, you're competing for the attention of everybody. You're competing against A Quiet Place that just came out, and that movie had me. It was satisfyingly scary.
Yeah, that was an interesting movie. It was an interesting one.
I've seen
Yeah,
all of them, but I digress. But
yeah,
anyway,
I haven't seen all of them. But the idea is this: is you're absolutely right that most people, when they're setting goals, they're they follow. There's some they're on their phone and they're doom scrolling and they're like, I'm motivated and I'm gonna 10x my goals. But the big problem that they don't do afterwards is they don't actually follow that up with 10xing the level of activity that's required to be successful. And when
right,
you're looking at things like getting attention, you can't just kind of want it. You really got to go after it. And you're going to win in the SEO space. You're going to win in the social media space. You're going to win in the PR space. And you're going to do that
yeah.
because you're going to spend time and you're going
Hmm.
to spend money to win.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, I do at the SEO Queen is we make it so easy for our clients. All they have to do is tell us their vision and we run with it. And all they have to do is show up for either 12, 24, or 48 one-on-one sessions with us. And all we're doing is just picking their brain and making it real for them. And
Mm.
we've been able to help brands, launch, help brands grow, the whole 9 yards. So, you know, if people are getting stuck, that's why people hire coaches and companies like mine. So if they feel overwhelmed by the implementation piece, we got you.
Well, I mean, in every industry, there's always the people who are going to want to do it themselves. Then there's
Hmm.
always the people who are going to want to integrate with somebody else and be part of the journey. And then there's
Right.
the other people who say, I want somebody else to do it because I'm just too busy doing something else. And I
Hmm.
think each of those people have a their perspective is right because it's their perspective. So it's right
Right.
for them.
Hmm.
And so the idea that you're able to, share today some key elements with people so that they can self-service, but then also say, look, figure it out, get it going. When you're ready and you're ready to jump to warp speed, we're going to get you going at warp speed. And I think that's something that's really important to give people the tools and then let them go. You know what? Tell you what, you can drive now.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we find that a lot when it comes to the podcasting space as well, where people who,
Hmm.
they kind of want to do things on their own and do it their way. And then we say, well, how much money have you made? And they're like, nothing. And then we think, and then we have them, well, you could make money. Like, really?
Hmm.
I've been doing this. I'm on episode 400. I haven't made $1. And you're like, wow, man, let's help you make some cash. And I love the transition that those things make to help people do that pivot. And I think
Hmm.
it's really interesting to do that. And I'm sure with the SEO, when somebody has that, I mean, when you get somebody to probably page one, I hope in your office you have like a little celebration saying, we did it. We've made some success there. And then
I'm
further that,
definitely excited. I get excited.
yeah. And when they say revenue came out of the activities that you're doing, and they
Hmm.
can directly point to that happening from the effort that you're spending, there's a huge
Hmm.
joy that comes out of that. It's not a monetized joy. It's a personal fulfillment.
Right. Absolutely. And, I am a competitor. I'm a violinist, MIT alumni, mom. So, you know, I, I I did run track in high school and college, but my competition was, being either the first chair of the second violins or being as high up in the first violin section as possible. So I definitely have that competitive spirit, and that's what's necessary to in online, because I mean it's changing constantly. The algorithm, like all the changes that Google's been making, like just listening to John Mueller and their content directors, it's just been like wow. You cannot you cannot sleep on this technology. If you want your brand to grow and thrive moving forward, you need to be podcasting, you need to be doing SEO, you need to be posting on social media, you need to be creating this content, because people are not um, walking on the street and randomly running across businesses. They're not doing that.
The only
They're
thing you'll
not.
do that with would be maybe coffee shops or restaurants because you're on a little bit of a meander, and at least for me, that's what I do. But you still actually if
That's
you're
a true statement. When I went, I forget the name of the city I was in Northern California a few weeks ago, but I did the same thing. I walked into a bakery and got a little pineapple something.
but sometimes when you have two or three more people, then you'll think about that, but then you're always going to grab your phone and check the reviews. And then instantly now you're into social media again, and you're into
Right,
SEO, and you're into all that
right. That
that
Google
work that
My
goes down
Business is very
analytics.
important.
Massively important. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. You're right
yeah,
about that.
yeah. Awesome. And then so when we look at top software that people need to do, what is the top things that they're going to take away? Like let's pick two softwares that you think are the biggest winners right now in the SEO space that people could use to be successful with.
Ooh, two.
No, just two.
Would you ask a carpenter to only build a house with two tools? Would you?
Well, but you know what? They'd probably say their nail gun's probably number one and their truck is number two. And
Okay.
so that'd be probably their two tools.
For
I'm not a
me,
carpenter.
well, for me, the two that really come to mind, well, there's three that come to mind. Is Google Search Console. Like I could not, if I had to be without anything, I would not want to be without that. So Google Search Console is very important because
Mm-hmm.
it allows me to communicate directly with Google. It allows me to see which pages are indexed, which ones are not. It allows me to really monitor and understand the backlinks to a site, the performance of how fast it's loading, how people are coming to it. So I would say Search Console, and then I would say the other one would be SEMrush because SEMrush helps me to see everything that's going on in the website from like a high level view. So
So, oh,
some
you're
things it
SEMrush.
doesn't catch.
There's the other one. There's SEMrush, and what's the other big one on that? It's
There's Ahrefs, there's or
yeah,
Ahrefs or
that's right.
Hrefs.
Href. Yeah.
There's SpyFu. I like SpyFu because it's just a simple interface and I can get what I want quickly. But when it comes to just a technical audit deep dive, I'll use SEMrush. And then if I just want a quick, just at a glance technical audit, I'll use Screaming Frog.
Interesting. I've not heard of Screaming Frog before. The other ones I know of, and there's two camps. It's kind of like Android and Apple between the
Mm-hmm.
Href and the SEMrush. So it's people sit there and different, and they always point at the other one and say we're way better. But you're saying
Yeah,
you use
I
both.
yeah, I use Screaming Frog. I use Sightliner. I really like Sightliner because sometimes when you're looking at broken links, the data that SEMrush gives you isn't helpful. It's not
Mm,
helpful. So Sightliner is more of a visual representation of where the broken links are, which is much more helpful.
mm.
Yeah, because sometimes there's a lot going on in websites, and so when you have like different scripts, it's hard for SEMrush to tell you pinpoint exactly. It'll tell you the page where the broken link is, but not where in the page it is.
Yeah. Well, this is where the carpenter gets hired to build their house.
Hmm.
And then the carpenter looks around and says, if I need my SEO, I don't think I'm going to be picking up the SEMrush tool. I think I'll just call somebody.
Right, right. So, I
Because
meite this is
that's a lot of tools to be listing off for sure.
yeah. Search Console, SEMrush, SpyFu, Sightliner, and then also when I'm creating content. Right now, besides just SEMrush and SpyFu, I'm also using, Copyscape and either Gemini or ChatGPT.
Mm,
Um, so that's pretty much, you can do a lot with those. But
yeah.
the problem with AI is that it's both over and underhyped. So you have to be effective when you're using it, or it will give you a whole bunch of bad information.
Yeah, I think AI is a whole different conversation.
Hmm.
And, I do use AI quite actively.
Hmm.
But I treat AI just like an employee rather than a piece of software that you have to audit it. And sometimes it's going to misbehave. And if you don't track and if you don't audit, then you could go down a really funny path because it'll hallucinate like crazy.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. You can't just take content is generated and just put it out there, because AI doesn't have ethics either, because it will just give you stuff and it's somebody else's. So,
Yep. Yeah.
or
No, for
incorrect
sure.
facts.
Now, the last piece of software that you didn't talk about, and we talked about a little bit earlier on, is the one that most people get most confused with, which is Google Analytics. And analytics is one of the most. I think they took a course on how to make it more complicated than it could possibly be, and then designed it that way. What are some quick tips around Google Analytics to not get lost and frustrated?
First of all, let's not forget that Europe had this whole legal thing about privacy. The reason why Google GA4 is more complicated because it's event driven, not cookie driven. So they had to change the whole tracking mechanism. So it had to count events instead of matching people with their activity. They just had to match the sessions and protect people's privacy. So that's one reason. But, GA4 is definitely not as user friendly as the Google Analytics of old, because, you literally have to configure all of your conversion actions separately, and you have to, it's a lot. And, it's only been out, I think, about a year. Didn't I think, is it a year, 2 years?
Has it been that long?
I think it's only been about a year. I want to say that July 2023 Universal Analytics was stopped being supported. I think it was 2023. It was either 2023 or 2022. I have to go back and Google that, but it's either 1 or 2 years ago. But I have to agree with you. It requires a lot more time to get the data that you want, but it's actually pretty helpful.
I'm wondering which is more complicated, the meta space or the Google Analytics space.
I think they're equally as complicated. And I'm a Facebook certified agency, so we do a lot of Facebook ad spend in a year, and they too have had to transition how they do a lot of the functionalities. But there's a lot of features that you can leverage for your business if you take the time to look at that data. One of the things that a lot of business owners do is they get so focused on acquiring the client and fulfilling the service for the client, they don't step back and look at the data on what has happened with their business. And so that's definitely something you want to do, is take time to look at the data. Can you guys hear that? So loud. Oh my goodness.
It's all good. It's all good. I thought there was a car outside my place.
Yeah, it was a car like a mile away. They're so loud.
Man, well, they're getting attention.
Yeah, they are.
It's their own version of getting their SEO going.
Yeah.
They put the engine in the search engine. Oh man, well, Z, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah,
for people
likewise.
who listened to everything and they went, those was a lot of words, and I just want it done. What's the best way for people to reach out to get a hold of you?
They can give me a call at 562-225-6760. They can give me a call, or they can go to seoqueen.com and click on Speak to the SEO Queen and make an appointment. Get on my calendar, a complimentary 15-minute consultation, or pay a nominal fee for an hour of my time.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. Yeah, SEO, I think, is one of those things that it's an inevitability that I think most businesses really underutilize the value that comes out of it and miss a lot of opportunities. And I think, as you said, the more time that you invest in something, really, success follows attention, but to get success, you have to pay attention. And you're either going to pay attention with time, or you're going to pay attention with money, and you got to choose as to what the currency you're going to use. So
absolutely.
Z, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
And
likewise.
SEO Queen, let's rock and roll. Actually, one of the best things was when we did a search on SEO Queen, I think in LA or something, for like SEO agencies, you came up on the top. Like weren't like number 3 or number 7, you were number 1. So we could say the number 1 SEO Queen if we wanted to, based on the search engines that
Well,
were.
expertise.com recognized me, and Design Rush recognized my company as one of the top agencies in Long Beach. So
Let's go.
it's not just Google. It's not just me. I've never met them over there. So
Well, I think they should meet you. And again, it's been a pleasure. And guys, this is the money, this is the mindset, this is the mentoring podcast. We'll see you on the next one.